Hey guys, it's Tatsuya. Today, let's talk about the plan to host the Tokyo Olympics. One day, a friend of mine who lives in Indonesia sent me an article from the Times. It was a shocking article in the US Times about the Tokyo Olympics, which were in danger of being cancelled due to the spread of the new coronavirus, saying that the government had secretly decided to cancel the Tokyo Olympics. I was surprised, but at the same time, I realized the time had come. Many ordinary people, except for politicians, Olympic officials, and athletes, thought that the Olympics were hopeless. I am one of those and have been so focused on the coronavirus-related news that I completely forgot that Tokyo will host the Olympics and Paralympic Games this year, even though I live in Tokyo. Today, I'd like to share with you some news about the upcoming Olympic Games and my thoughts as a Japanese citizen. Let me quote an article in the page. Sebastian Coe, president of the World Association of Athlete Federations and chairman of the London Olympics Organizing Committee, made a remarkable statement to the BBC. If the postponed Tokyo Olympics are to be held in Japan this year, they may have to be without spectators. I want the Olympics to be noisy and passionate, with fans in the audience. But if no spectators are the only way to hold the games, I think we will all accept it, Cole said. He added, if the games are cancelled, having Paris 2024 and Los Angeles 2028 postponed so that Tokyo can host the Olympics within 3 years is not a realistic solution. The BBC, which published the article, said the president of the World Association of Athlete Federations remains confident that the Olympics and the Paralympics will be able to be held, despite a report in the Times newspaper that concluded the Olympics had been cancelled. Andy Anson, head of the British Olympic Committee, also said on BBC Radio, there is no plan B. We are hearing that the games will go ahead. He said the noise is not helping the athletes. They are focused on preparing for the Olympics. We have consistently heard from the IOC and Tokyo that the games will be held as scheduled. It's just a question of how it will be held, he denied the theory that the games would be cancelled. From here on, I will share my views and what I know about the situation. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government or the national government have not given up on holding the Tokyo Olympics. It is still unclear whether there will be no spectators. But the president of the International Olympic Committee has also insisted on holding the games this July, and then he is being criticized from all over the world. This is not limited to the current Suga or Abe cabinets, but there is a tendency in Japanese government offices and large corporations to hold frequent meetings but not solve problems. This is especially true when the answer is clearly wrong. When they are wrong, it is rare for the Prime Minister to honestly apologize for it, and most of the time he spends a lot of time forcing the bureaucrats to come up with excuses. At this point, it is being reported that the government is not thinking about canceling the Olympics. On the flip side, this would mean that the Japanese Olympic committees understands that it is impossible to hold the Olympics this year, but is postponing the decision. Suga has been unable to do so, even if he wanted, because people would benefit from not declaring the Olympics cancelled. So, why are so many Japanese giving up on the Olympics? It is because Japan is not coping well with this pandemic. The total number of people infected with a coronavirus in Japan is 360,000, of which 5,000 are breathed their last. Especially this winter, the number of infected people is rapidly increasing again. In Tokyo, the number of confirmed positive cases per day has exceeded 1,000, and the government has declared a state of emergency in 11 prefectures, including Tokyo. In the designated areas, restaurants are now requested to stop operating after 8 p.m. Many people are worrying about whether they will be able to survive until July under these circumstances. Most of them cannot afford to think about the Olympics or the Japanese economy. The spread of the vaccine has also not been predicted. Kono Taro, the minister in charge of vaccines, has announced that he will be ready to start the vaccine intake from medical personnel by late February. However, embarrassing as it is for a developed country, there is also a deep-seated opposition to the vaccine in Japan, and there are several people who do not want to take it. There are even political groups that are anti-vaccine. Under these circumstances, it is not clear how far the vaccination will spread, and it is doubtful that the infection will be contained to a level that will allow the country to host the Olympics this July. Moreover, the Japanese government will probably be reluctant to hold the Olympics without spectators. Our former Prime Minister was willing to host the Olympics because he thought it would help revitalize the Japanese economy. In fact, Abe Shinzo has been active in making Japan a tourist nation, and the government has been actively accepting tourists until last February. Prime Minister Suga is believed to have inherited his ideas to some extent. However, if tourists do not come to Japan even during the Olympics, there will not be much economic benefit for Japan. Instead, American sponsors such as Coca-Cola will benefit, and Japanese companies will not gain much. There is no advantage for the Japanese to host this international sporting event. However, the government needs to listen to athletes' opinions in deciding whether or not to host the event. Many athletes have only a short time to be active, and there is no guarantee that the best player in the world in 2021 will still be the best in the world 3 years from now. Even the wrestler Yoshida Saori, who was called the strongest female primate after winning 206 consecutive women's wrestling world champions, was defeated by Helen Malosis of the United States in the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics. No matter how strong you are, it is hard to keep that power up for 4 or 8 years. There were many athletes whose lives would be changed by one Olympic Games cancelled. Considering the enthusiasm they have for the sport, it would be too sad to cancel the event. The fact that the games were postponed last year instead of being cancelled may have resulted from their sporting lives. Considering the athletes' circumstances, I can't say I'm eager to see the Olympics cancelled. But to be honest, I don't have any hope for the Olympics either. I am just waiting for the government to decide that they will manage to eradicate this virus in the country first. That's all for this video today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Bye.